All right, Duggernaut.
Live.
Yep.
Good morning and welcome to For Fantasy's Sake, the Quad City's first and only fantasy football show. We are back this season in a little bit different place than we were last year, but we are back. I am Doug Green, your host of this fiasco. I am joined by one DJ Jarvis and one Chris Steele. That is one of the first changes that you will notice. Mr. Nathan Joyce is no longer with us. He has moved on to greener pastures, i.e. people who will pay him. So we have brought in our pinch hitter, Chris, to join us this year and going forward. Couple of changes here at For Fantasy's Sake of this season. Before we get into all the fantasy football nonsense, bunch of big changes. So, obviously, we are on Facebook Live this year. We are broadcasting from home, just like everybody else is nowadays. We have a brand new site, forfantasysakeqc.com. We have been working very hard on that. That is up and live. We have all kinds of great content up there. That's where you can watch the show at every Sunday. All kinds of great stuff going on that site. Make sure that you check it out. We have a whole passel of new folks that have came on board with us, joining Mr. Steele as well. So, in the order that they are in my phone, these are the new folks that you will find at the brand new website. They will be one, Linda Godry. We also have Andrew McKay, Bonnie Robinson, Brendan Sampson, Michael Sicoli. Those folks are all writing for us this year, doing different things at different intervals throughout the week. So make sure that you're dropping on there, checking all those out. There is a link at the very bottom of the page that actually goes to our brand new Patreon page, where you can drop a tip for as little as $1 a month for our folks there. So that if you like an article, make sure that you are dropping in there and leaving some money for those folks as well. We also want to give a shout out to one Mr. Jordan Rangel, who has been promoting us very heavily throughout this off season and here in the last couple of weeks. So we want to say thank you to him for helping us get to over 800 likes on Facebook, which is really great for us.
Yeah, with that 800 likes, as you might have seen, we planned on doing it today, but between schedules getting all mixed up this week, we are not able to do the T-shirt poll, but we will do it at some point this week. With that, if you shared a couple of the posts, you're entered. If you asked a question, you still have time to ask questions for today to be entered into the raffle. And we're well on our way to that 1,000, which enters you to an autographed jersey from either we haven't fixed the details on that, but either your favorite team. It might end up being a random thing, but we're only 200 away, and we've gotten 800 in a year. So 200 in 16 weeks should be no problem.
Yeah, and you want to thank all of our fans and people who are just taking their time out when everybody's so busy right now to watch our show, look at our content. They've made a big difference for us. We're not putting any money into boosting our posts or anything like that. It's all of our fan base out there, and we're just so appreciative of what they've done so far for us.
I'll say I'm also super thankful for our sponsors. This has been a really tough time, and everybody who we had reached out to sponsor us that was there here last year for us, they were just more than willing to come back and say, hey, we got you. You guys, we did a lot. We were able to do a lot for our sponsors last year as far as promotion, and we're going to do that again this year, which you can also see in our bottom left corner, Clint's, and our bottom right corner, Kavanaugh's, this week. So make sure you go and spend your money there this week and watch some football.
Absolutely. All right. So, despite the fact that we don't pay anybody here, there are folks out there that are getting paid. So, a couple of big name running backs got some definite coin yesterday. Did you want to talk about the financial implications for Mr. Kamara and Mr. Cook?
I actually didn't. I was super busy yesterday, so I didn't end up seeing the actual figures. But I feel like those are two guys where I think you can get a running back off the street, but my team did just spend a first round pick on those guys. And the thing that I worry about for the Saints is they're already like $50 million over the cap for next year with the drop cap. So it's like they're going to have to really. I mean, obviously, Breeze is going to restructure. He does that all the time to get money for people. But they're going to have some other guys who are making some coin, have to either restructure or end up getting cut. Like, I seriously wonder, especially now with re-signing Kamara, what the Saints are going to be able to do going forward.
Yeah, well, and you look at, like you said, DJ, the Chiefs got Edwards-Helaire, and they're paying a premium price with a first-round pick for that player. But they're also not paying that player, and it's not counting against your cap.
Right.
So at the same time, when you're giving a lot of money to someone who is Dalvin Cook, and he's been injury prone throughout his entire career, to give him 5 years, $63 million, that's a difficult price to pay for me. Especially when it's somebody that you cannot depend on. You need that number 2 back in there. And I think the Vikings have a very good number 2 back in there. That's the real thing. Is that the Vikings probably could say goodbye to him next year and not have a drop-off in what they do. Right. I know that Zimmer really wants to run the ball, but I don't know that paying running back works anymore. And I think you've seen that kind of philosophy starting to pay dividends in the NFL. The Packers were very willing to move on from Aaron Jones. So it just seems like this is something that's going to be the next wave of things. And I think paying running backs is kind of a mistake, especially with Kamara, because while he is an extremely talented player, you look at Kamara and the Saints just don't seem to have the absolute way to get him the ball the way other teams like Christian McCaffrey and the Panthers do. If you want Alvin Kamara to be that guy, you have to get him the ball the same way you're getting McCaffrey the ball. And the Saints haven't figured that out yet. He's not a lead back like McCaffrey can be. So I just kind of question the reality of giving him all that money. It's not my money. I'm not worried about it. But the ramifications of it last a long time.
I think that when you look at the Saints' game plan with you talking about them not being a McCaffrey, a lot of the red zone touches for both Breeze and Kamara get stolen by Taysom Hill. And I think that if you're going to pay Kamara money, you need to use him like he deserves that money. You know what I mean? Like you can't have Taysom Hill getting carries in the red zone, and you can't have Taysom Hill, running around the backfield, and tossing up stupid passes to Jared Cook all the time when you have a guy who should be, in that upper echelon of running backs to where he can catch, 80 to 100 passes in a season. He can, tote the ball 250 times. He can run for 1,100 yards and catch passes for 900 yards and score, 25 touchdowns. But they haven't used him like that. And I think, rarely do you see teams not use guys like that, and then they usually let them walk and let somebody else pay them, and now you're paying them, And like you said on Cook, it's super hard to predict anything for him because, like you even struggle, I do rankings every week, and you really struggle even putting him in your top 10s all the time because, he's one of the top 10 backs, I think, in the league, but he could have a soft tissue injury in the first quarter.
Well, bruisers also take a lot of punishment, too. That's the thing, is they have a shorter shelf life. And to give him all these years, I know guaranteed is the only thing that really matters.
Right.
But essentially to give him all these years, it's like he's going to be a part of your team for a long time. I don't know that that's true when it comes to Cook. And with the Saints, you got to think that they know more than we know. So maybe there's a reason that Kumar is not getting all these touches in the red zone. Maybe there's a reason they feel like they got to do these gadget plays with Taysom Hill instead of giving Kumar the ball when that's something that the Panthers wouldn't hesitate to do with McCaffrey. McCaffrey's going to get his touches no matter where they are on the field. Kumara, it feels like they pick their spots to use him.
Right.
And maybe that's going to mean less tread on those tires, but at the same time, you got to start to wonder if there's a reason why they don't want him in the red zone.
Well, and Ingram left and went to Baltimore, but then they bring in Latavius Murray, and I think that they've brought in very capable backups, and I think that if you look at a lot of the teams, yeah, they have capable backups, but they don't have backups who you see as a threat, if that makes any sense. Like I'm all about handcuffing running backs, but I feel like if I told you that Latavius Murray was going to get 30% of the touches, you'd be like, yeah, probably. And a lot, you can't name all those places where you'd be willing to start the backup in the flex, but the Saints have kind of done that, but you don't see, like I said, you don't see that happening in Carolina and New York, places where they have that stud running back.
Well, and you see that Ingram is gone, and you think last year, okay, it's Kumar's time. It's time for him to shine. And it was a disappointment. It was a drop-off from his previous year.
Right.
So you don't really know what to expect from him this year. Maybe the fact that he's got all his cash is an endorsement of the fact that he is going to be a feature back instead of a back that is very talented.
Right.
Hey, so as I was watching some college football yesterday, one of the things that they made on separate broadcasts on different channels was they talked about in the year of the Rona this year, where everybody's kind of making things up as we go.
Right.
That kind of puts the road teams at a disadvantage because they haven't practiced, and then they got to go on the road to an unfamiliar place, and well, maybe not an unfamiliar place, but not home to play. And they felt like that the road teams were really at a disadvantage this year, at least for week one. Do you guys think that that'll extend into the NFL, where we see maybe some of these road teams that look a little rusty, especially early on?
Yeah, I think you're running into the situation where nobody's really had games, nobody's really had to deal with outside environments that even though, most of the NFL has no fans in the stands, you're still pulling your bus into, enemy territory, and there's still those fans coming in, and that's a little bit of a shock. I mean, I know that they've dealt with that for a very long time as players, but you haven't had those outside noise other than on social media where you can ignore, and you're completely out of your element. You're staying in a hotel, whatever, and whereas the fact is, I believe most of these players have probably gone to practice and gone home. And that's totally different now. You're trusting somebody else to make your food. You're trusting, all this different stuff that you're completely out of your element now.
Yeah, well, and I think in college football, that's kind of more of an excuse than it is a reason. It probably does matter more in college football because they are younger guys. They're not used to it. I think the NFL players, it's another game for them. I think we're going to see defense really dominate these first few weeks as offenses try to get together. I think the Texans are a good example of that. The Chiefs, they're going to be fine because they have Patrick Mahomes. And that entire unit has been together for so long that it's just not going to matter for them. They're going to line up and they're going to do what they do, even though they have Edwards-Helaire in there who's a new guy. He's a running back, so that's not going to change very much of what they do. So at the same time, that unit's been together a really long time. The Texans, if you look at them, they had a lot of new pieces in there with Tunsil and Cooks and other guys that just hadn't been there before, and that was a mess. So you got to just assume that the teams are going to start slow on offense. If you can generate anything on defense, like points-wise, you're probably going to win week one.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I would argue that the Texans' defense has been together for a little while now, and they should have looked a little better than they did Thursday night.
Name a defensive player on the Texans other than J.J. Watt.
Let's see. There's Zach Cunningham, who was one of my favorite linebackers coming out. There's Whitney Merciless.
Yeah, Doug's the wrong person to ask about defense.
Sorry. Well, Whitney Merciless is like 40, so
they have
So am I.
They have
yeah, I know.
They have that Reed guy who got put on roller skates
guy.
by
They have PJ
CEH.
Hall. I named one. I got one.
I would have also named Merciless, but
Yeah.
Illini
He's
guy.
from Illinois.
Yep.
Yeah, we understand PJ. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. As long as you don't name Jadeveon Clowney, that's fine.
Yeah. Well,
All right. So we're going to stop there. We're going to take our first break. We're going to do two sponsors right here. And then on the other side of this, we're going to talk about some unexpected surprises that we see kind of coming into 2020. So we'll talk a little boom bust, a little new faces and new places, those types of things. We'll talk about that on the other side of the commercial break here. So, Kavanaugh's Hilltop. Sunday is the best day at Kavanaugh's Hilltop Bar and Grill in Rock Island. You can now enjoy a limited brunch menu while listening to your favorite jamokes talk about fantasy football. And let me tell you, there's nothing better than the Kavanaugh's Brunch Burger, which is a sizzling all-beef patty topped with egg and hash browns and served with a side of hand-cut fries. Stick around after the show and grab one of their 250 tall boys or a Bloody Mary while checking out all of the action from every game around the league and keeping up with your fantasy studs on one of their numerous screens with the NFL Sunday Ticket. That's Kavanaugh's Hilltop Bar and Grill, 1228 30th Street in Rock Island, home of For Fantasy's Sake, at least when we actually have a home, and there's not.
I think they're still home for fantasy's sake. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
They gave us a place last year.
Yeah, we're very thankful for Tim and the crew there. Rock River Fitness, located at 3416 Black Hawk Road in Rock Island, offers a wide variety of classes starting as low as $7 per class and just $10 for specialty classes. With classes that include different yoga, Zumba, cardio, fusion, and strength training, Rock River Fitness has a little something for everyone and at a crazy affordable rate. Find them on Facebook, the MindBody app, or visit their website, rockriverfitness.com, and start planning your next fitness class. Rock River Fitness, where fitness is fun. Alrighty, boys. So, 2020 has thrown all kinds of curveballs, not to mix our sports metaphors here, but all kinds of unexpected surprises have come through. So let's try and make a little bit of sense out of all of this. So let's kind of talk a little boom bust here in the next couple of minutes. Who is somebody that you think will jump up and surprise you in a positive way on the boom side? Who do you think is poised for a big year?
Is this where I say Drew Lock?
No. Chris,
Okay.
what do you think?
Well, just kind of sleepers really feel like they could pop out of anywhere this year because things are going to be so random, especially week one. I think my biggest piece of advice week one would be to play talent over matchup at this point, just because I think you got to go with your gut this week more than any other week, because you need to figure out just who's the most talented player right now, and then let the numbers kind of guide you from here. Right now, we have no idea what this landscape's going to be like, how people are going to react to things. It's a whole new world, so we're going to have to just try and figure things out on the fly. If you're talking about sleepers that nobody else cares about, I'm really in on Cooks. I love the new location for him with the Texans. I think the bad performance week one, I think you can hang that more on him just being gimpy going into that game and having a new system to deal with where he kind of ended up being a decoy most of that game. And Fuller was really appreciative of that effort because Fuller had another really good game. Fuller will have 3 or 4 of those before he gets hurt, and he does that every year. So it's something where you kind of just have to feel out right now. I think you play talent over the guys you love. You keep the guys you love on the end of your bench, and you just kind of hope for the best for these first couple of weeks.
Yeah, Cooks is a guy I really like too. When we did the previews in the AFC South, I said that he was a guy that I could definitely see producing really well in Houston. I think another receiver I really like, that I think it's a guy that I've been on the Jag train for a really long time on, but he's consistent, and that's Jarvis Landry. I always get on, he's going to catch 10 balls for 80 yards because he catches balls at 8 yards a clip or fewer and doesn't really get in the end zone. But when you're looking at receivers, unless you're getting that top tier where they're going to score, they're going to catch 12 passes and 110 yards and a score, he's a really solid flex option. He's a guy who's been in that offense, which I think is going to really pay dividends, is having guys who know offenses, who I think not having preseason is going to affect some teams in different ways. that don't have veteran leadership and don't have guys who really know playbooks and really know where they're supposed to be. And Landry is a guy who knows, even though they have a new coach, he knows what's going on. And I really think that you could see a year where he finishes as a wide receiver one, which obviously would make Odell Beckham the number 2 wide receiver for the Browns.
Right. I would still stick with Odell. I know Jarvis Landry has a really good skill set, but I think Odell is destined for a big year there. I think that a little bit of a disappointment last year is going to be overshadowed by just the performance and overall talent that he has this year. And that unit not being coached by a complete idiot, Freddie Kitchens, is going to benefit from that.
Yeah.
So I think I would look for that to be a little bit of an uptick from Odell in volume and production there this year.
Yeah, I think like Doug said in that, or it might have been you, I don't remember things that far back, but I think maybe we were a year ahead on that Browns offense. I think everybody expected them to mesh right away. And like you said, Kitchen was a dumpster fire of a head coach. And I mean, we don't know much about Stefanski, but you get another year with a full year with Kareem Hunt, and then I think Nick Chubb is better. I think Nick Chubb's one of the top 5 running backs in the league, but you get a whole year with those two running backs, you get those 2 receivers, then you have Njoku and Hooper, at tight end, and they just have a full complement of offensive weapons, plus their defense is really good. And so, they're going to have plenty of opportunities to score points, and I think that they're going to spread the ball around, because the good thing about Odell being on a team with Jarvis Landry is hopefully, for owners, he's not going to throw a fit when he's not getting the ball because his friend's getting the ball.
Well, and I think last week we kind of went over different teams, and with every single one we were kind of like, oh, they'll be fine, except their offensive line is terrible. With the Browns, it's different. The Browns actually have put together a really talented offensive line. And when you start naming off all these weapons that they have, and you look down and you see Joel Bitonio and J.C. Tresetter, these are guys that are like top of their game, and they got Jack Conklin too. So those are 3 guys that just immediately pop off the page at you. You think they're towards the top of their game, and this Browns offense has every reason to work now. I think that it's going to be a thing where we kick ourselves for saying same old Browns because we just saw last year and it put a bad taste in our mouth. Right. This year is going to be different.
I think about when I think about the Browns last year or going into this year is you really have to look at what they did against the Ravens. The Ravens went 14-2 last year, and one of those losses were to the Browns, who they were clicking in that game, and then everything kind of went to crap. Odell Beckham Jr. Just things just didn't go well going forward, and you got to think, with Stefanski there as opposed to having Kitchens, is they're going to figure it out a little bit more.
Something we talked about last week, as long as we're talking about receivers, that kind of I wanted to dig into a little bit more is, ironically, Stephon Diggs. And how do you think that relationship's going to work? Because right now, Buffalo's offense works because they put Josh Allen in a position to succeed and do what he does well. If Diggs is going to pull some star stuff and try and make them do things that they're not good at or make him force balls over to him, that changes everything for that offense. Do you think that offense is going to take a big hit because of Diggs being there, or are they boosted by him?
I think they're actually boosted by him. I think he could kind of play the role where, like, John Brown kind of plays the Tyreek Hill role for the Browns or for the Bills, and I think Diggs kind of steps into that like Sammy Watkins role where he's gonna be overshadowed by other weapons, like Watkins is, but he's gonna have those games where you're like, man, and he's better than Watkins, obviously, in my opinion. But I think he could, he could, if he sees, I don't know, he saw 90 targets from the Vikings last year. I think if he could see, 75 to 85 targets, you're looking at a, 65 to 70 catch season with, between 800 and 1,000 yards, and the real question is, does Diggs stretch those catches into touchdowns? But I mean, with Josh Allen, I compared them to the Chiefs' offense. Is he's got the arm like Mahomes does, to where you kind of just need receivers that can run underneath the football, and Diggs has got speed. So, I mean, you could see him. I don't know that he does what he did in Minnesota, but you could see Diggs still, finish high end wide receiver too, in that 13 to 15 range.
I think he's even better than that. I think he got tired of dealing with Cousins and the Kirk Cousins-ness of things. And I think that you could see great production out of him this year because, like you're saying, he's similar role to Watkins, but I would say that Diggs is week one Watkins all the time.
Yeah.
So there's that potential all the time there. With Watkins, you kind of never know the way that things are going to go. You never know what injuries are going to pop up. I think Diggs is a player that is just has more ability there, and that ability is going to show through no matter what. I think that was what happened in Minnesota, is his ability showed there despite them having to get the ball to Thielen a lot because the quarterbacks that they like to get the ball to the player in the slot a lot.
Yeah.
So Diggs was able to get numbers. If he's a true number one, we're going to find out real quick this year.
I think another player that I'm really interested in this year, and I don't know if it makes me more interested or less interested based on the Jonathan Taylor news, but I really like Marlon Mack. And I think that he was a guy that I saw going late in a lot of drafts because people are worried that, people were taking Jonathan Taylor in the top 3 rounds.
Right.
And it's like, what did Marlon Mack really do to lose his starting job? You know what I mean? What did he do? He got hurt. When he was playing, he was scoring points. He was really good. And that was a guy you were getting in like the 11th or 12th round. Marlon Mack is still on the board. And it's like, that's a guy who was on pace for 1,000 yards. He might have actually topped 1,000 last year before getting hurt. And it's like, they're still going to run the ball and they're still going to count on Mack to score. Like, even with Jonathan Taylor there. And, obviously there's the coach speak and everything like that, where they said, we drafted Jonathan Taylor to spell Marlon Mack, not to take his spot, And so I'll be interested in week one to see, how true that is. But I was feeling the same thing about Kerryon Johnson last year. He was really good his rookie year, and then last year he got hurt, and then they come in and they draft DeAndre Swift, and now I'm more worried because they brought in AP. But it's like we're discounting these guys because they brought a rookie in, and it's not always the case where the rookie's going to come and just immediately take the keys.
I think running back's the one position where you can see that happen, though.
Right. I
totally agree. But the running back position is one where those are guys that they need to immediately be on the field and they immediately need to make an impact for you.
Yeah.
And exactly what you're saying, DJ. Marlon Mack was surprising for a lot of people. He did get over 1,000 yards last year, 8 touchdowns. He had really good production. But I think you just got to keep going back to where you were with Marlon Mack not that long ago, where he was just a guy on that team. And I don't know that he's ascended to that kind of level where you think, oh, Marlon Mack, he's an elite option. Like you're saying, a late round flyer, that's great. But Jonathan Taylor, there's a reason that they drafted him to be there, and they want him to be that feature back. It may not be this year, but they want him to have that role. So you're always going to have to worry about dealing with, okay, is Marlon Mack going to get the touches this week? Or is it time they think Taylor takes over that position? How good can Taylor be when he doesn't know like the blocking schemes right away? And that's going to be a big deal these first few weeks, getting used to playing actual football with the team.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So let's table the rest of the rookie discussion until the next segment when we're supposed to talk about rookies. As you guys steamrolled right into there. Before we go to commercial break, though, I did want to, since we do have the one kind of other weird kind of factor going today, is the air quality out in San Francisco. Supposedly, it's worst air quality for an NFL game ever. It's lower than their usual. Evidently, they have standards for air quality that you're supposed to be able to play in, and this is like way below that, but they're still going to have the game. Do you guys how worried are you about the players in that game? Do you adjust? Do you make any adjustments for that? Do you think they'll even play the game?
I wonder. I mean, yes, they'll play the game, but I don't know how much of the game they'll play. And outside of really Kenyon Drake and Kyler Murray and Hopkins, you weren't really playing anybody anyway. I don't think you were playing any of those Arizona guys. I don't think you were playing the San Francisco guys. But I might sit Murray and Drake.
You're not playing Kittle?
Oh, I forgot about Kittle. I always forget about Kittle. Yeah, I think
the best tight end in the league.
I think maybe you play Hopkins and Kittle, but I would maybe stay away. I would look for another option at quarterback, and I would see if you took Drake as an RB1, but if you've got another option, I don't see any of the running backs getting enough touches today to be fantasy relevant.
What about Murray?
Yeah, I think
Chris. What about Murray?
I think the real thing is, for fantasy-wise, this game's going to get played, like DJ said. They've got to play the game, so they're going to roll them out there and do whatever they have to do. I think the real thing is this might be like almost a preseason game where we see not like they're pulled off the field after 2 or 3 quarters, but they're going to be used very sparingly in what teams do. I think there's going to be a lot of running the ball. I don't know that I would really go against Drake. I think there's still the potential for him to get going early and maybe get some yards out of that. I wouldn't really put much stock in the quarterback position, like DJ's saying, with Murray, because you got to think that both of these teams probably just want to run the ball and get out of here right now. And I know the air quality thing is probably problematic all the time there, but to see it just look like something out of like a crazy movie of some kind where it's just smog in the air, it's a hard thing to figure out. People's lives are being torn apart right now, and it's something where we're concerned about if Drake's going to get enough touches. So I think that these players are going to put up fine numbers, but they're going to be hampered by the fact that both of these teams just want to get the game over with and get out of here.
Right.
True. All right. So let's take a break there. We'll read one of our sponsors, and then we'll come right back, and then we'll jump right into the rookie discussion.
Sounds good.
All right. Cool. So, Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill. Located in the Belgium neighborhood of 7th Street in Moline, Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill is home to some of the Quad City's best food and drink specials. On Sundays, there's no better place to be. Clint's is serving up 75-cent wings and $4 Bloody Marys all day. And your favorite team playing in those out-of-market games? You'll never miss a second of the action on one of their 10 screens with the NFL Sunday Ticket. And after you've had your wing and bloody fix, finish your football watching experience with one of their famous Quad City style pizzas. And folks, they know pizzas. They've been spinning QC style pies for the last 22 years. So make Clint's part of your Sunday football routine. Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill, 7th Street in Moline.
So before we jump into rookies, I just got don't laugh at me. I just got an update on my phone.
Shefty bomb.
Galladay officially out. Miles Sanders officially out. Here's the shocking one, not that he was really fantasy relevant, but Jarrett Stidham, completely inactive today. So Chris, sorry about your guy. You're still on mute, Chris.
Chris
I
is
like
sound better.
I'm much better on mute. I don't know if you guys do about this. But I like him a lot. I think Stidham has a lot of talent. I am fine with you making him inactive if you're going to start Cam, because like I said last week, you don't want to have 2 playbooks for this team. So if you're running the Cam playbook, you got to stick with the Cam playbook,
right,
and have somebody of a similar skill set ready to run that as a backup. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I think
my
that
argument
we're going to
back, Chris, that you've frozen on me.
Oh.
Would be who's backing up Cam then? If
Hoyer.
Stidham's inactive,
Hoyer.
and Hoyer's athletic enough to pull off Cam playbook? No.
Well, he knows the playbook. It's probably similar. It's an adaptation, so he knows what's left over.
Yeah.
So Stidham is still a guy who probably has an idea, but Hoyer's been there, for a decade, it seems like, and every time they cut him, they bring him back, and then he comes back for his special Tom Brady times, and they high-five, and he can wave a towel on the sideline and be that 12th man who's like, yay, go team.
And trade him to the Colts.
Do it.
What?
I can't believe they gave something for him.
I know.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about rookies coming into this season and kind of what our expectations are with some of these guys. Let's start. Actually, we got one of our questions. You can always submit questions to us. We are always happy to take your questions. You can tweet us at our Twitter, which is at FFSQC. You can tweet them there. You can drop them into the live stream down below. You can drop them on our regular Facebook page. You can email them to us at forfantasysakeqc@gmail.com. There is a link on our website that will allow you to email in your questions as well.
First person to do that wins a prize. I don't know what the prize is. It might be a hug from Doug, a social distance hug. But first person to actually click that link wins some kind of prize.
We'll buy nachos the next time we can actually do a live show. We'll buy you nachos.
Is it going to be Addison Russell nachos, which is just chips and cheese, or is it going to be real nachos?
We don't say his name anymore.
Yeah, he's
I
not a
apologize.
fan of anyone in existence.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. So, first question comes from Mr. Kirk Clark, who wants to know, will Jalen Reagor be the guy?
Oh, Doug froze for a change.
Yeah, Doug did phrase. So yes, because they're still trying to get rid of Alshon Jeffrey, apparently. And I don't know that I can name, I guess Deshaun Jackson, he's in Philly again, but yeah, I feel like Rieger's going to be the number one guy who he's going to see the majority of the targets from whoever is healthy and playing quarterback for Philly. I would shy a little away from him this week because he missed a lot of training camp and you don't know what he's going to look like. I guess Josh Norman is out for the Washington football. Does he still play for the Washington
not
football?
there.
Not there. Okay, but yeah, I would shy away from him this week just because he missed a lot of training camp with an injury on a Jalen Hurts pick. But I think long term for this season, he is the guy in Philly.
I don't like rookie wide receivers. I think they don't offer you enough fantasy-wise, even if they blow up like DK Metcalf. You can get that kind of production out of guys and other spots that are just average guys. You want them for dynasty leagues because that potential exists. But I think one of the things that Michael said, either in our group chat or he may have put it on the website, is that guys who run these 4-3s, we get super excited about them, and like the success they have in the NFL is very limited.
Right.
And like even the success stories are guys that we're just kind of like, they're middle round, like
except for one.
Fantasy.
Except for one.
Except for the one, but that's the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah.
Then most of these guys turn out to just be okay.
Right.
And we go crazy because we're like 4-3 speed. That's going to be great in the NFL. And then where is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I guess it just depends on what Peterson wants to do. And here's my thought process here on why I think Rieger, even though he could be a second exception to the rule, is he, with Andy Reid, kind of started the Tyreek Hill, playbook. So it would be interesting to see what they use with him. Another 4-3 guy, I think, going away from that could potentially be a guy is pronounce his name from Jacksonville. I think especially with, what is his name, Chris?
Oh, Chenault?
You're talking Laviska Shenault?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that I could see with all their issues at running back, playing some of those roles for them as a guy who kind of changes the game with his abilities.
Well, and I think the thing about Jacksonville is they do have players that are unique and interesting. DJ Chark, I love everything about DJ Chark right now. I think that he's poised to be one of those breakout players of the year. DJ Chark, do. There you go.
There's some copyright infringement there.
See, that's what I wanted for my bust earlier.
It's satirical, and we don't have to pay for it. It's fair usage now.
Just wait till
all a joke.
wait till we say score in McLaurin.
Yeah, there we go. I love DJ Chark's size and ability. I think Shenault is a similar wide receiver in that regard, and that could be something where we look back on it a couple years from now and we're like, man, those two together, that was special.
Yeah, if they ever get a quarterback.
Yeah, I'm still not sold on that whole Gardner Minshew thing. I know he's got like the mustache and people want to love it and be all Jacksonville-y about it, but Jacksonville, they need a real quarterback. Maybe they bomb out this year, they get Lawrence, and then that offense just takes off.
You know who else has a mustache? You know who else has a mustache?
Your mom?
No, Steve Batterson, and you don't want him as your quarterback.
I'll take Steve Batterson. He's scrappy. He's a coach's son. He's got all that good stuff going for him.
He's a grinder. That's a grinder.
He is a grinder. Reference that nobody watching understands.
Oh, maybe a couple.
People know Bats.
I know.
Yeah, Bats is famous. All right, so in terms of other rookies, what do we think about the Henry Ruggs out in Vegas?
He's the
supposedly
second.
he's going to be their top option. Do we think that he's got any type of juice to him?
He's the second best rookie wide receiver in Las Vegas. I am fully aboard the Brian Edwards train.
Oh God!
If I had a train horn, I would blow it, and I can't do that thing with my hands. My wife can do it, but I cannot.
This is why we don't do sound effects.
What are you doing? How is this hard? Isn't that a
Woo,
trademark?
woo, Brian Edwards train. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You did it.
Why do I say so many nice things about my division rivals? I don't know, but I'm fully on board the Brian
You're
Edwards
objective.
train.
You've got your principles, DJ.
You can't use that word. I work for a rival 401k company. No principle.
Okay. Deduct that principle.
Yeah, but no, I think Ruggs could be very good if Derek Carr can spread the ball around. But let's be honest, outside of Darren Waller, they don't really have a whole lot to throw to. I'm not a huge Hunter Renfrow guy. I was going into last year, but his route running not good in the NFL. But they're going to be a run first team, so it's going to be kind of what's going to happen outside of your attempts to Waller. So I think in the first couple of weeks you're really going to want to see who takes that step. Is it going to be Edwards or is it going to be Ruggs?
I think that Gruden's still kind of an idiot, so this team's going to be behind a lot, and they're going to have to be throwing late in games. So I think that's where you're going to get a lot of your volume. I also hate Hunter Renfrow because he's a slow, tiny white guy, but he's going to get a lot of touches. He proved himself numbers-wise last year. I think that he really showed that he can put up numbers. He's not talented, but just by volume, I think he's going to get those touches because everybody else has the same assessment of him that we do, and so they're going to be sleeping on him to cover the guys that can actually hurt them.
Right. I mean, he'll catch a lot of those Jarvis Landry routes.
Yeah. The ones where he gets murdered over the middle.
Yeah, well, the Madden cheese route, the drags, because nobody can cover the drags.
Don't bash on my playbook. That's not fair.
Kyle and I have that conversation quite often.
Oh, yeah, I know.
All right. What about Ruggs' college teammate Jerry Jeudy out in Denver? Is he better than Cortland Sutton? Obviously, he's working at a deficiency with Drew Lock at quarterback. But what do we think of his odds for this year?
I think that's a guy who could put up numbers. I see Locke just out of, even if you don't like him, I think he's a guy who could approach 4,000 yards because they're another team. They're gonna be down because their pass rush is not going to be very good with Novan. Bradley Chubb is still kind of ouchy from the ACL tear. They lost Chris Harris in the secondary. So they're going to be down in games as well. It's going to be Locke's job to keep them in games, and he's going to get a lot of garbage yardage, and Judy's going to be a guy that he's going to be able to find probably on a lot of double move routes or slants across the middle, because Sutton's gonna run opposite of him and be double covered a lot. So they're gonna have to find Judy to stay in games.
I think Jerry Jeudy has the ability to be one of the elite wide receivers in the league someday. Like I said earlier, I think that it takes rookie wide receivers time to establish themselves. I think that second and third year is really when they start to be able to compete at that NFL level and show you exactly what they can do. So if he struggles a little bit this year, maybe see if somebody's willing to give up on him in like a fantasy or keeper draft where you're looking at a dynasty team and you want somebody who you can really depend on long term. Like you said, DJ, I don't hate this offense at all. I like all the weapons. They have every reason to work. Noah Fant is ready to be one of those guys that isn't among the Kittle or Kelsey conversation, but he's probably that next level if he continues to improve this year.
Here's the big thing on Judy as well is if Sutton doesn't play, you're going to have him just forced into being that X receiver, where you're just going to have to trial by fire this week because, if Sutton's not playing, you have Jerry Jeudy, then you have Tim Patrick. And I know you still have Bayshawn Hamilton, but Tim Patrick's a guy who's actually gotten it done in the NFL as opposed to Deshaun Hamilton. But Judy's going to have probably trial by fire even if Cortland Sutton does play because, with an AC joint injury, who knows what's going to happen the first time he takes a hit.
Yeah, Deshaun Hamilton's fine, but you want better than fine. You want the guy who's fine to try and beat you, kind of like the Hunter Renfrow thing, where you want that guy who's less than talented to try and beat you instead of letting Jerry Jeudy have a blow-up game. So you're going to have him doubled or bracketed everywhere if he goes on the field if Cortland Sutton's out. So I would think that would cause even more problems for a guy who's just looking to establish himself in a first game and get that first catch, get a couple big catches under his belt instead of just trying to, be a guy opposite a number one threat. I think that's where you're going to see Jeudy flourish. If Cortland Sutton's out, I think that offense just gets locked up. I'm super punny today. There we go.
All right, cool.
Hold on. So, I had one more thought there, but that's okay.
No. We were already over time for break.
All
right. So we're going to take a quick break here. We'll come back. We'll talk Bears Pack, so we don't have to hear about Drew Lock anymore. And then we'll jump right into all that discussion. So, Durham Remodeling. Durham Remodeling has been serving the Quad Cities area since 1973. With nearly 50 years of excellence on their track record, you'll see why it's so easy to trust their experts when it comes to all your home improvement needs. Durham Remodeling's work is 100% guaranteed, so you can rest assured that you're getting the best service around. Call 309-786-6715 for all your roofing, siding, flooring, windows, and painting needs. That's Durham Remodeling, 309-786-6715. Alrighty, so talking a little Bears and a little Packers right now for this segment. We have news, breaking news as of here a couple of minutes ago. It's my turn to get a text from Shefty Deej. Robert Quinn is inactive today, so the Bears' new high-priced pass rusher already going to miss a week. So, yay. So, let's start by talking about David Montgomery. Obviously, he got hurt in the preseason. People thought he'd miss several weeks. Not only is he healthy, he is active today. And according to Nagy, he's going to have a full workload. So, what kind of numbers do you guys expect out of him today?
I think you got to think about what a full workload means in Chicago as far as running backs. I think he probably gets in that neighborhood of 20 touches, and I think with a soft tissue groin injury, I do kind of worry about, these guys haven't been hit hard. They've been hit, in practice, but I kind of worry about what's going to happen. First time he tries to cut around a guy and gets hit, in the thigh area. But if he gets 20 touches, I see he could get, 20 touches, maybe 80, 90 total yards and a score. But I think against Detroit, they're going to try to show off a little bit with Trubisky and try to see what he's going to be this year.
Yeah, I think Trubisky historically has torched the Lions more than any other team he's faced. Mostly because the Lions, just with Patricia calling the defense, he's just gone straight up man-to-man against Trubisky. And Trubisky, where he fails, is trying to identify that zone coverage. And when they start mixing zone and man, that's where Trubisky really starts to fall off. If they're going to just do the same old thing, I think Trubisky's going to have a huge day today against the Lions. But at the same time, Patricia's given up calling the defense, so they have somebody new doing that. So I would imagine that whoever their new defensive coordinator is says, okay, we've seen him beat us when we play man. Let's see him beat us when we play zone.
Right.
Well, okay. So, but the problem is with that is Detroit's missing one, Darius Slay, who's moved on, and two, their other top cornerback is also injured and not playing this week. So even if they want to mix things up, they're already kind of doing it with one hand tied behind their back.
Right, and their pass rush got arguably worse over the offseason as well with losing Damian Harrison. I think Detroit's going to run this whole let's run what Patricia wants to run defensively because, historically it has worked because he can run different stunts, but let's try and outscore teams. And then it won't so much happen against the Bears, but I think against other teams where they're going to try to just kind of take the air out of the football and run with that stable of three running backs. And then, you've got Stafford who can accidentally throw for 4,500 yards in a season because you just look at the stat line every time and he has 350 yards. And so even against the Bears, they're going to throw the football too. So I could expect them to have 15 play drives and then be a 8 passes, 7 runs.
Yeah, Stafford's like the ultimate floor guy where you just know what you're going to get out of him every week. It's not going to hurt you, but it's not going to win you a week by any means. But I don't know. At the same time, like Doug, I'm a Bears fan, so the Quinn news is very disappointing because they tried to downplay it almost all of, I'm going to call it the preseason, but it wasn't the preseason, and the lead up to the season. They tried to downplay his injury, telling you that it was just a personal issue or he was fine or when he was in drills, he looked fine, and you kind of just have to take their word for it because right now nobody really knows. To have him be inactive week 1 after you back the truck up to give him all the money means that there's something significantly wrong here.
Yeah, it's not a great look, Bob. Talking about the Detroit offense real quick, Galladay is out in case that you weren't aware, but I think he's been out for several days now. They declared him out a few days ago. I actually think that makes TJ Hockenson a good play this week, just because Stafford's got to throw to somebody, and Hockenson, traditionally the Bears haven't done well against the tight ends. I think that Hawkinson's actually a really good play this week.
That could be true. Week 1 Hockenson last year was absolutely great, and then he didn't put up the same kind of numbers the rest of the season.
Well, didn't he play the Cardinals week 1? And you touched on how awful they were against tight ends.
Yeah, they're real bad.
I would have said, had Galladay not gotten hurt, that Marvin Jones was a really good option too. Now he's going to be blanketed by Fuller and probably Eddie Jackson most of the game. So I don't even know who else plays wide receiver in Detroit. They have. Yep, that's what I was gonna say. His name's on the tip of my tongue.
Hawkinson is a player that I think can really start to establish himself this year. I think Noah Fant is kind of an exception where you get on the field and you immediately make an impact.
Right.
I think that it usually takes tight ends a while to become the player that they're going to become. I think you do know that with Hawkinson, there is that ability, there is that chance that he can really become something special. So the people that have still kept the faith with him and kept him on our team, I think they're gonna probably see some sort of uptick. And DJ, you were thinking of Danny Amendola.
No, I was thinking Quintez Cephas.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Huh?
I enjoyed it, Doug.
I'm glad. So see, Chris has got taste. That's why he's on the show.
I was more shocked by the fact that Doug was drinking water. I've never seen Doug drink water.
I drink water all the time.
I've never seen it.
Okay, just like I've never heard your baby cry.
Oh, she cries.
It happens. Well, I drink water. All right, so let's talk Packers real quick before we wrap up this segment. They are playing Jordan Rangels and Ryan Sargent's Vikings today. Deej, as the self-proclaimed Aaron Rodgers lover, he is going to be your responsibility this season to talk about. What do we think? Obviously, it's Rodgers and Devontae Adams are kind of the 1-2 punch there. Is there anybody else worth starting on the Packers side?
I mean, I would start Jones, but other than that, that's about it. You have to figure out who's going to play tight end. It's going to be Sternberger, but you got to figure out, is he that second passing option? You have no clue who's going to be the second wide receiver. I mean, Linda loves Alan Lazard. You got to see if he can continue to do what he did in those spots where Adams was hurt last year, and if he's not going to step up as wide receiver 2, who really will? I think that they want to be. It's weird that I'm going to say this because they have Aaron Rodgers, but I think they want to be a running offense, and you've got to figure out if they are going to be a running offense, how productive Rodgers will be in his, are they going to throw the ball 25, 30 times? I think your days of Aaron Rodgers for the Packers throwing the ball 40 times is probably over.
No, not as long as Rodgers is still the one who can make that final call on the field.
Yeah, run. You just have to see who's gonna step up as his second pass option because, are you going to play Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon both at the same time and use Jones as your second pass option? Who knows? And I think that's something that'll be interesting to see against a very good Vikings defense.
Well, the thing that has made Aaron Rodgers a Hall of Famer is his ability to extend the play and wait for those guys to come open and make that huge play under pressure. From a certain degree now, it's time for Green Bay to protect him against himself.
Right.
And the injuries have taken their tolls over the years. We've seen him miss significant time the last few years because of injury. So to have him take less of a workload is probably doing him a favor at this point. It's also, I think that people are in a rush to make that big change and get A.J. Dillon on their fantasy team. Right now, Aaron Jones reminds me a little bit of DeMarco Murray's final year in Dallas, where the Cowboys were just like, we're going to run straight into the ground, and then we're going to let him walk. So why not buy into Jones this year? Because I think he could have a huge year as he's about to hit free agency, and then they just let him go because they're going to use up what is left of him and then turn it over to the young guy. So Dillon's probably going to get touches here and there where he gets like a drive or two, but I wouldn't expect Aaron Jones to really drop off in production from what we've seen.
And then what about on the Vikings side? Obviously, Dalvin Cook is going to be a must start. Thielen, I've never thought of him to be a great wide receiver. I always thought he kind of benefited from having Diggs on the other side of him. Now he's kind of going to be the main man. What are kind of your your thoughts, or what's kind of your expectations for Thielen?
I mean, they have 90 targets to replace, losing Diggs, and he had only 50 last year, which blew my mind. Talking about that before we started the show, if you drafted him, you have to start him, because if you drafted him, you draft him as your number 1 or number 2 wide receiver. But he's going to be covered by Jair Alexander likely, and that's just like the Packers. You kind of have to know: is it going to be Justin Jefferson? Is it going to be Olabisi Johnson? Who's going to be that second guy who's going to kind of take some of the attention off of Thielen?
I really like Jefferson. I think that, like you said, Jair Alexander is probably already one of the best corners in the league, if not the best. So that's going to be a really problematic matchup. I think with Thielen, a lot of our feelings about him are established from what he did 3 years ago and the start of 2 years ago. The start 2 years ago, he was on a historic pace that we've never seen before. Yeah. And then he started to drop off a little bit. And I think that has a lot to do with having a quarterback, when they lost Teddy Bridgewater, come in, and a quarterback really loved his slot wide receivers. Case Keenum was really willing to just always look to Thielen, get that ball out quick, make the most of those plays. So now that Thielen is the guy and not that slot wide receiver, how is that going to affect his numbers? I think we're going to see a downturn from him. Thielen was somebody who dealt with a lot of injuries last year. So how is he starting to fade a little bit too? Because this is a guy we think of as being a younger guy, because it took him so long to ascend to the level of this like elite wide receiver. He's 29 now. And you look at wide receivers once they hit around that 30 mark, and there's a huge drop-off coming. So if you have Adam Thielen or you have Adam Thielen stock, this might be the year to sell.
Yeah.
Yes, I completely agree with that, because he's terrible and his yellow gloves are stupid.
And get off Doug's lawn.
That's gold.
All right, so we're going to take a break right there. We'll do another read, and then we'll come back, and then hopefully the inactives will start rolling in there, so we can talk about some of those. Try to keep an eye on that of who's coming and who's going, who's up and who's down this week.
Make sure, since we only have a half hour left, make sure if you've got questions you want us to answer,
yes,
we got you.
Yes, make sure that. Yep. So throw them on Twitter, throw them on Facebook, email them to us, wherever you would like those to go. We are definitely all ears and wanting to answer any and all of your fantasy football questionnaire needs. All right. So this is how you can tell it's live. I can't find the read that I'm looking for.
Where's Nate when you need him?
I know, right? This is why Nate was in charge of this stuff. Because I am terrible at it. All right. Van's Pizza Pub and Grill. Football season is just starting, and if you spend a Sunday watching football anywhere but Van's Pizza Pub and Grill, you'll be doing it wrong. Van's Pizza Pub and Grill, 3333 North Harrison Street in Davenport, is the best place to catch all of your games. And with the season just starting, you've got time to set up a brand new routine. Start your meal off with their famous McGuire's Original Nachos or Bready Nuggets, then ask about one of their original QC-style pizzas. Or be your own offensive coordinator or quarterback and call an audible and create your own. The Vans crew will be sure your play call hits pay dirt every time. Easy for me to say. That's Vans Pizza Pub and Grill, 3333 North Harrison Street in Davenport. Come get served. All right. So let's take a look and see what the NFL is reporting for their inactives. Deej, what's Shefty texting you?
I've actually gotten nothing since my last break. With it being week one, we kind of knew up front. Like guys like Miles Sanders, Kenny Galladay aren't playing, and then Mike Evans is in that later time slot which really is unfortunate because they're the prime time 3:00 game. to where they don't kick off till 3:25. So you really only have the 3 games to choose from if you want a backup for Evans. So you have, I personally, I have Evans. I have him in my lineup with the hopes that if he doesn't play, that I can go to somebody from Dallas, LA, Pittsburgh, the Giants, Denver, or Tennessee, which my backup's Corey Davis because he's the only guy I have in those games other than Wayne Gallman, who I inherited off of an orphan team. But I feel like if Mike Evans is going to play, you have to play him, but it makes it tough if you don't have another option in the Sunday night game or either Monday night game.
Right. So
Or
NFL.com is reporting that Evans is playing.
Okay. I mean, I would still wonder what he's going to look like in pregame, if that hamstring injury flares up. This might be in a situation where I go look on my waiver wire and see if Deshaun Hamilton's available because, again, you don't know about Cortland Sutton playing, and you could throw Deshaun Hamilton hoping he gets in the end zone if Mike Evans doesn't play.
Deshaun, plugging Penn State wide receivers is my job, Deej. Stay in your lane. Chris, what were you going to say?
I think if you look at Tampa Bay, they have a lot of options that they can choose from. So if Mike Evans is a little gimpy week 1, I don't know that you really want to push him that hard because you need him the rest of the season,
right,
too. If you're going to try and use him this week, you might be trying to use him more as a decoy. Lucas Conger asked us on Facebook if he should use Mike Evans or Deontay Johnson, the Steelers wide receiver, this week. And I said I would go with Johnson because Johnson really looks like he has all the ability in the world. He has a real quarterback, at least this year. And so with Juju getting a lot of attention, that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for him. I like that matchup over Mike Evans at, maybe percentage that we don't know right now, especially in a new offense with a new quarterback.
So I would start Mike Evans, but you have the benefit of you're going to know what he looks like in pregame. You're going to know, people are going to all over Twitter and are going to say Mike Evans looked gimpy, whatever, running his routes, and you have the benefit of Deontay Johnson playing Monday night. So he's one of your guys who you have that insurance policy to where if you're not comfortable with what people are saying about Mike Evans, you can sub him out. And it's kind of what you said before at the start of the show. I'm all about starting my stud regardless. And like I said, you're going to know what he looks like. You're going to know if he looks slow or, stuff like that. But I understand where you're coming at with Deontay Johnson too.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. That's what I said to start the show is trust talent over the matchup. I think injury kind of changes that just a little bit because you've got so many variables you don't know there in Tampa Bay. Just because of the quarterback change, there's a lot of different personnel. There's a lot of different mouths to feed. The running back situation is weird, and nobody really knows what this team's going to be at this point. So to make it seem like they're just going to hit the ground running, it seems a little short-sighted.
Right.
Okay, so as stuff starts flowing in here, we've got Jalen Hurts is inactive. A little bit of a surprise there. Alshon Jeffrey is inactive. Derek Barnett is also inactive for the Eagles, so the pass rush won't be quite as effective in there. No real surprises for Washington. Alex Smith is down. Bryce Love is down as well for them. Going down the list here, we already mentioned Stidham. Chris is crying in his beer already this morning for that. There is nobody on the Falcons down roster that I actually recognize, so we're going to skip by those. Equanimeous St. Brown is not active today for the Packers.
See, and he's a guy I liked coming out of college, and I thought he could step up this year and be that wide receiver too. Is he a healthy scratch or is it an injury?
It just says it just says his name.
Okay.
Yeah. So
His
Packers
brother-
wheel of wide receivers this year.
His brother Amon Ra is going to be a thing, so keep an eye out for that guy. He's going to be a fantasy stud in the future. So Amon Ra Brown is going to be somebody people want to keep an eye on at USC this year.
Good plug, Chris.
Absolutely, yeah. They've been talking him up for several years. Let's see who else is out there. Joe Flacco is no longer elite, and he is no longer active, so he is down this week, along with Denzel Mims for the Jets. T.J. Yeldon is down for the Bills, along with Iowa's own A.J. Epinesa. He is also out this week. For the Browns, we are looking at Donovan Peoples-Jones. Not that you would start him. Greedy Williams, we've known he's been out for a while. He's hurt. Nobody crazy for the Vikings is down there. Seattle, we are looking at Philip Dorsett. He might be somebody you might be willing to roll the dice on, especially maybe in DFS or something, looking for a touchdown. He is inactive today as well, along with Seahawks tackle Cedric Ogbuyi. Easy for me to say. Blah, 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 blah.
You go ahead. Traditional spelling.
Yes, exactly. All right, and that is pretty much takes us through the early games here. Let me hit refresh and see if we've got.
Oh, you missed Riley Ridley on the Bears, Doug. He's a player that might have been end of bench for some people, but I can't see it. He's not fast enough for the NFL. He's probably he was a very good college wide receiver. He's just not going to do it in the NFL, though.
Yeah, he's a dice roll, but he's not somebody I would want to think about starting in there. Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys I want him on my roster in case he blows up, but he's not somebody I'm thinking about actively starting. That seems to be what we've got so far. There is nothing yet from Colts Jacksonville here on the main site. Otherwise, all the early games are spoken for. Any surprises there for you guys out of that list so far?
No, because I think, like I said, week one, you kind of knew who was going to play and who wasn't going to play. And where my curiosity lies is what we're going to do about Mike Evans.
Jalen Hurts a little bit. It's interesting. They're not going to try and gadget play him.
Oh, is he inactive?
I know it's early. Makes sense. But to have him be inactive, that's kind of one that's an interesting move.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very interesting.
It's probably just a new guy and a new offense where
Right.
you don't want to burden him with too much. Let's just wait until he's ready to be that kind of gadget guy, or wait until you see what the health of Wentz is going to be like. But maybe that's an endorsement of Wentz that he's going to be fine for this game.
I think that was the first purposeful hell in for fantasy sake history.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I thought I would be the one who took the swearing title there.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah. No, don't worry. I'll be the one to drop the first F-bomb.
Yeah, now that Nate's not here.
Yeah, that's pretty much virtually guaranteed. All right. So why don't we do this then? Since we've ran through pretty much most of the inactives, we'll take our last break right here. We'll come back. We'll answer your questions. So get those in, please, right away. Again, you can either email them. You can throw them on our Twitter feed, or you can throw them on Facebook. Chris will check the Facebooks. Reminder there, since this is a first time for everybody kind of thing. I'll check the emails. And then when we come back on the other side of it, we'll take your questions. We'll do the rapid fires. We'll wrap this all up, and we'll get you guys all set to go today. All right, cool. Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill. Located in the Belgian neighborhood of 7th Street in Moline, Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill is home to some of the Quad City's best food and drink specials. On Sundays, there's no better place to be. Clint's is serving up 75-cent wings and $4 Bloody Marys all day. And your favorite team playing in those out-of-market games, you'll never miss a second of action on one of their 10 screens with NFL Sunday Ticket. And after you've had your wing and bloody fix, finish your football watching experience off with one of their famous Quad City style pizzas. And folks, they know pizza. They've been spinning QC-style pies for the last 22 years. So make Clint's part of your Sunday football routine. Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill, 7th Street in Moline.
If you're in the Rock Island side of things, you can also hit up, as well as Kavanaugh's, you can hit up the Corner Tap, who is now under the same ownership as Clint's Pizza, and they will be selling slices of Clint's Pizza at Corner Tap today, as well as having NFL Sunday Ticket on their TVs.
Nice. And we do want to give a shout out to the nice folks over at Yard Barbers, who have been sponsoring our baseball coverage, which Chris spearheads, for the shortened coronavirus season.
They are also the title sponsor of our rankings, which I have thrown up on our socials with their logo. I know that yard season's coming to an end, but give them a like on Facebook and give them a holla if you need some yard work done. And I think he's working on snow removal for this year too.
I was just going to ask that. All right, so let's get into the questions.
David Montgomery officially active, by the way. They just popped that up on my TV. He's officially active.
Yes, because I already went through the Bears in
I said officially. He's officially active. Okay, they're telling me on the television.
Okay, pay attention to the show that you're running, not the show that you're watching.
Sorry, sir.
Nate's not here to yell at you. It's my job. All right. So, speaking of Nate, Cousin Bo wants to know, Stafford or Kyler this week?
I think I have Kyler in my top 10 for this week, but I'm leery of the air quality. And like I said, Stafford's a guy who you can look at the end of the day, and he has 350 yards and a couple touchdowns, even against a vaunted Bears defense. So I think I'd start Stafford.
But
Chris?
in the Bears defense looked ordinary last year after they lost Akeem Hicks. He's back this year. He and Mac can be a wrecking crew on their own. But as Doug said earlier, with Quinn missing, that's going to be something that changes a lot of things that they do. There's nobody on this Bears team who can immediately fill that role that he was going to play for this defense. So that's going to change things. Maybe this is the week that we see Roquan Smith break out and become the player that he was drafted as a top 10 pick. But it's going to take a lot to kind of get to that point. And so I would think that the Detroit offense is going to flourish this week just because it's going to be a little bit of a track meet there. I know I said early on that defense is going to reign, but I wouldn't be surprised in this game if they're running up and down the field because there's just that level of talent out there.
You're muted, Doug.
Doug's working on stuff.
Doug,
Still muted, Doug.
can't hear you, Doug. You're asking us a question, Doug, and we don't know what it is.
I got one. I think it comes from the same Cousin Bo here. He's looking for one PPR flex. He's choosing between J.D. McKissick, Malcolm Brown, Deontay Johnson, Russell Gage, and Dallas Goedert.
Deontay
What do you
Johnson
think,
for me. Deontay Johnson for me.
I'm a big fan there, too. I think McKissick could end up being a nice play, but I want to see it before I believe in it.
I think I read one of the updates this week that while they say he's the lead back, they're making no promises on McKissick. So I would start Johnson. Like you said in the previous segment, he's got a real quarterback, and he's gonna be that complement to Juju, which they've done really good. You know, as having a number one guy and then a complement. They started in Pittsburgh, Mike Wallace, and then Antonio Brown, and then Juju. So now it's Juju, Deontay Johnson.
Well, and seeing that Alshon is out and Miles Sanders is out and Jalen Hurts isn't going to get like 4 or 5 touches in there,
Right.
Dallas Goedert might be a decent play.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an under-the-radar one. I wouldn't go with it over that group of guys that were thrown out there, but
Right.
that could be like a sneaky good play where they get a lot of extra attention going towards Zach Ertz, and Goddard is the one who flourishes.
Yeah.
Now we can hear you again, Doug, and you can talk to us and everything.
Yeah, I missed you guys. All right, where are we at?
Michael Slider.
All right, Michael Slider from Facebook wants to know, could there be 3 better keepers than Mahomes, McCaffrey, and Barkley?
Maybe I would keep Lamar over Barkley, but
Yeah.
that would be about it. There's no receiver I'd rather have than those 4 guys. So
I would probably defer to having wide receivers over
2
running backs. I love
Yeah.
those guys. I love those 3 names that were just thrown out there. But wide receivers have the longer shelf life.
yeah, but who's
Running backs, you look at the way they're used up and beat up throughout the league and thrown out. Their shelf life is maybe 5 years, and a wide receiver can probably get you 6 to 7.
what wide receiver would you, if you gun to your head, just one guy, name one name?
One name for one guy that I would keep long term.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at a list actually. And
Nope,
I know
right
that's a
now.
cop-out,
Gun to your head, what name?
but
Nuke.
I would go with Hopkins
Okay.
because right now, or Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is another one. I would want to see age for sure
Right.
before I made a decision on something like that. That's why I'd want to look at a list. But those 2 guys, long term, I would feel very good about that. McCaffrey, the thing about him is that the usage for him has been something we've never seen before.
Ever.
And have him not miss significant time due to injury, that's just a ticking clock at this
Yep.
point. That's got to
Yeah.
happen because of how often he's getting hit and how the size of him too. He's built, but he's a smaller guy still.
Right.
You can't change that. And he's running up the middle more.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jordan Rangel has the first of several here. So we're going to buzz through all of Jordan's as we go through here. So pick 3 of these 4. Hopkins, OBJ, Woods, Ridley. I think I'm doing Hopkins, OBJ, Ridley.
I'm doing Hopkins, OBJ, Bob Forrest.
I'm good with Doug's 3, Hopkins, OBJ, and Ridley. I think that's a really good trio.
Okay, Jordan also wants to know of these 3. I don't know. Jordan's is loaded somewhere.
He's got a lot of teams.
Yeah, that's true. Julio, Lockett, Marvin Jones, and Baby Chark. I'm probably taking the first 3.
Agreed.
Yeah, I like Julio a lot. I like Chark a lot. I just don't know that I'd take him over those guys. And I think Lockett is one of those like low key producers that's just going to keep putting up solid numbers for you. He's not going to win you a week, but he's going to help you every single week. So your top producers can win you the week.
All right. With Miles Sanders out, Fournette, Montgomery, or Thompson at RB2?
I think Montgomery's got the highest floor.
I just don't like Fournette this week. It's one of those things where it's a new system for him. You don't know exactly what his role is going to be. Is he going to roll out as the starter? It doesn't feel like it. He's going to have to share time, at least with Ronald Jones, and then they're probably going to throw down some third down back in there because it's Arians. So
Right.
I don't know who to trust.
Yeah, I think Montgomery's probably the play, but I'd be real.
Matt Nagy just turns off the run like automatically if it doesn't work once, and so that's what's really terrifying about that whole situation. Maybe he's changed. Maybe the offseason has made him see the error of his ways, and they're going to be more of a traditional offense. And maybe the changeover from Mark Helfrich to other offensive coordinators is going to make that offense look a lot different. But I don't think so. I think it's all Matt Nagy's show, and he's going to show us how smart he is, even if it gets him fired.
All right. Also, Mac, Breida, or Thompson at RB2?
I would go with Mac. I think he's got the highest floor.
I agree.
I think Mac for this week, just because it's too much ground for Taylor to cover to get up to speed to where he needs to be. So if Mac's going to fly off and have a big week, this is going to be the boom week.
And then last one for Jordan, Edelman or Marvin Jones as his second flex?
I think Marvin Jones.
I would probably go with Edelman. I think he's the only real wide receiver still there, and I think Cam's going to need somebody. You look at DJ Moore when he was going strong there with Cam, and that was a good relationship. I think that relationship's probably going to start to form between Cam and Edelman.
I'm going Jones as well. All right, Greg Hickson off Facebook wants to know Jerry Jeudy, Fournette, or Boston Scott as his second flex.
Judy again. I think he's got the highest floor of those three.
Agreed.
Well, if one of them's going to accidentally get into the end zone, it's going to be Fournette. And with Fournette, it's got to be accidentally because he doesn't have touchdowns over 2 yards in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle Garisher on Facebook wants to know Teddy Bridgewater, Derek Carr, or Sam Darnold. I think we all know who I'm going to pick. Deej?
This must have been the draft where everybody was intoxicated because, Kyle, you got to have better quarterback options.
He was busy that day. I think he did it by phone.
Yeah, I know. Darnold.
Yeah, I didn't even hear the options. So
Teddy Two Gloves, Derek Carr, or Sam Darnold.
Yeah, okay. Have fun with that. I'm not his competition, but I'm in competition with him, so I'm gonna abstain. I'll take the fifth.
Lame. All right. I say it's Bridgewater, and I want to know why he's carrying 3 quarterbacks anyway.
Yeah, that is interesting. I don't know. This might be a thing, but Darnold has that deer in the headlights look to him where he's had his head hit the ground too many times, and he's legitimately said he's seeing ghosts. So I don't know how much I buy into Darnold.
All right, and our last 2 will come from Matthew Neville. He wants to know Hunt or Edelman. I'm probably actually going to go Edelman on this one.
Hunt.
Yeah, I'd go with Hunt. Even though they're splitting carries there, I think that Hunt if it's a PPR league for sure,
Yep.
Hunt's going to get you those extra couple touches just
Agreed.
from receiving.
All right, and then Hunt, AJ Green, or Lazard.
AJ Green.
Yeah, I would go with AJ Green too. I know it's a lot of people out there who are doubting his return, but if he can even be half of the wide receiver he was before the injury, and it wasn't even that big of an injury if you think about it. It was a lower leg injury, but it's not going to be something that's career-altering. I think he's going to find his way back to greatness this season. Maybe he has to drag Joe Burrow with him, but I think that relationship is going to be a good one.
All right, and then we are going to jump into our rapid fire. So,
Chris, rapid fire means 1 word or less.
DJ, bad. Got it.
Yes, exactly. Oldie but goodie. Will Leonard Fournette score? No.
Yes. Yes.
No.
DJ's wrong as usual. Top scoring quarterback this week.
Dak.
Drew Brees. That's 2 words.
No. I think he might have already played Mahomes.
More points, Aaron Jones or Dalvin Cook?
Aaron Jones.
I don't know. You know,
Actually,
they're
Dalvin
gonna
Cook.
probably
I'll go
plug
Dalvin
it in.
Cook.
Ty God or Joe Burrow? Ty God.
Ty God.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
TB12 or Breeze? Breeze.
TB12.
Breeze, it's going to take a while.
Top scoring running back.
CMC.
Yep.
I'm
Hard
gonna
to
go
against
Kamara.
him.
I'm gonna go Kamara.
Oh,
Just for giggles.
Saquon, come on, Doug.
Top scoring receiver in Rams Dallas tonight.
Cooper Cup.
Robert Woods.
Give me.
CeeDee Lamb. Come on, Doug. Be bold.
No, I was gonna go not Galloway. The one that starts with G.
Gallup.
From Dallas. Gallup. Yep, him. All right. Todd Gurley over under 56.5 rushing yards today.
Over.
Over.
Yeah, I was going to go over too. Top scoring wide receiver
Overall,
This week.
today. This week.
Michael Thomas.
Agreed.
I'll go.
It's a week one. You got to go off of.
Instead of being unanimous, I'll go Devontae Adams.
That's wrong, but okay. Actually, that'd be good if it was.
It went against your point earlier, DJ, that they were going to try and protect him more and not throw the ball as much.
I just want to. I want to be a. I want to keep it from being unanimous. I don't. This isn't 3 guys sit around and agree.
Stop it, DJ, you hipster.
You're the one with square
Sure.
square glasses on, guys.
Children. DJ's is clearly the youngest one here. All right, last one. Who wins the Super Bowl? Cannot be Kansas City because they are terrible. I'm going to go. Let's go Baltimore. That sounds fun.
Baltimore. That's bold. Lamar finds a way to just rewrite history and bounce back from a dismal performance last year.
You're going
I'll go
Baltimore
with
too?
Baltimore.
Boo!
I thought you were thinking Baltimore Colts, Doug, because you're an old guy. So
No, I'm not
Oh, mic drop on Chris.
I was an NFL fan before the Browns came back. How's that for you?
DJ, if you had to pick somebody other than the Chiefs, who are you picking?
The Chiefs.
Here, let's make. I was gonna say let's make it easy. Who do you want the Chiefs to play in the Super Bowl?
No, because that makes it have to be an NFC team. If it's going to be an AFC team, and we want to be shocked.
I think the Titans are the second best team in the AFC.
Okay.
Tannehill quarterback? All right. Boy, that's bad. All right, so that is how we're going to hit this show this week. We appreciate everybody popping in, watching. Make sure that if you have questions for next week, we are happy to answer those.
You still have 29
we are
minutes
gonna
to.
do-
You still have 29 minutes to jump in the pick'em. If you win this week, you get an entry into the end of the season raffle, and you get to pick against me next week.
Because nobody wants that. All right. So, kidding. All right. So that'll wrap it up for this week. We want to thank all of our sponsors for sponsoring us every week, like they always do. Make sure you check out the site at For Fantasy Sake QC. Make sure that you are on Facebook at For Fantasy Sake QC and following us on Twitter at FFSQC.
No QC in Facebook, dog.
God, can we please be consistent? This is why I'm confused all the time.
No, it's because you're old.
That too. All right. So for the Loudmouth DJ, for Chris, and I am Doug. We will see y'all next week.